You're watching the INT podcast with myself, Goggsy99. We have also got on the panel today the Mr. Tilibuddies and Serfs. Mozza, how's it going, mate?
I'll take that as a new description, aye. I'm very well, mate. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm fantastic. I'm looking forward to this new venture we've got. And, of course, on the other microphone, we have got the Scottish Media Encyclopedia, Alex Moore. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Just great. It's good to be here at G4 Claims Studio. And before we get into this show, we're going to hear a little bit from our sponsors.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
So, first and foremost, in the running order today, we are going to talk about what's new in the Scotland hemisphere. First of all, sidebar, I'm going to ask you a bit of trivia to get the ball rolling. What is the origin for the INT podcast name? I'm going to give you a guess.
What, international? Is that?
That'd be easy too. Like, so the way I'm getting looked at right now is isn't it?
You should know this.
Is it for American football?
No, it's a reference to Football Manager. You know, when a player goes on international duty when you're playing your career, it has an icon that says INT next to the name. I hope that they don't copyright me for anything. But
just keep on the down low.
Yeah,
it's not like you mentioned it.
Down on the DL. Yeah, that's
Sporting Interactive, please don't listen to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, what's new? First and foremost on the agenda, we've got to talk about the new kit that has been launched. I think it's fantastic, but there is a lot of beef going about with the pricing of the kit. £90 being the market value. What do you think of that? Would you pay £90 for a football shirt?
I did pay £90 for a match-worn shirt last week, and I'm not only am I going to pay £90 for this one, I am going to wait for the special box with the whiskey and the commemorative thing that's coming out for whatever.
How much is that going to set you back?
I think it's another £40, so I think that'll be 130. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm still yet to see the pricing. I might change my opinion when I see the pricing.
The fact that they've not said it yet is a bit worrying, but I think it's roughly about that. You'd expect that anyway.
If it's any more than that, I'm not paying it.
It was a bit worrying because they kept posting about it, but they never actually stated the price until we've just found out. So that is probably the most precarious way of marketing a product, I think.
They knew it was going to get flack, which is why they never said it in the build-up. They had so many chances to answer. The questions were everywhere about it. Even JD could have said something, obviously they didn't want it. But it's been a bit of a shambles, hasn't it? Because not only was it the pricing side of things, they also ran out within about 2 seconds of large and extra larges. I get the kind of whole thing that they want it to show it's popular and get people really after it and justify the price tag, but it's not for me. Like, I was more excited to buy that top than any top in the last 5 years of any club or nation. And I'm going to be getting the Toffs one for £35, which we cheap tip for anyone.
Yeah, there you go.
Want to get an alternative, it's just a basically plain navy blue but with the same badge and it looks just as good.
That's fair enough. I mean, during the Euros I got that sort of the fake Scotland shirt that was made, that I think it was £25 instead of just buying the blue Euro match worn shirt.
I figured I can't get in trouble if I don't say DHgate or that and I say Toffs because that's kind of licensed.
Oh, fair enough. That's me blacklisted by the SFA. Fantastic.
Yeah, you're not announcing the squad this time.
No. Good callback though, very good.
The pricing is not necessarily set by the SFA.
Yeah.
There is commercial agreements in place with JD and Adidas as well, so there's multiple parties in this, so just to blame the SFA might be a little bit harsh. Still yet the issue is the SFA are quite secretive about these sort of things. Sometimes good reason, sometimes not, so they haven't really helped themselves here. I think it is quite telling that JD didn't market it at all until last night, until the night before it launched. Had they, really wanted to drive sales of it and really wanted to market it as a product, we would have seen it splashed all over JD's social media. We only got a couple of posts. I think that's quite telling about they knew that they did not have the stock for the demand. And I'm seeing on eBay that it's going for 200 quid
the vouchers
right now. Yeah, so well done you, Jammy Sod, for getting it at 9am.
It could have been worse. We could have been Ireland and ended up with a Rangers third kit rip-off as our home kit.
I couldn't unsee that Ireland shirt. Like, the badges actually made it worse.
It's a Pro Evo shirt.
Oh,
It looks like
absolutely,
a
100% is a Pro Evo shirt. Is there anything else we've missed in the time since Scotland got beat by Turkey?
Main thing's been Craig Gordon's injury, hasn't it? Because that's been the big talking point up until recently, who's going to be the goalie, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I actually heard it because I was at Tannadice that day, and it was one of those ones where you knew straight away that's a really bad injury. I was shouting for a penalty, but that's secondary. But you know, it's just the fact it was on deck for so long. I think it was 8 minutes, which is one of the longest injuries I've seen on a football pitch. You were just thinking, oh god, and the first thing is like, oh no, this could be his career completely over, which. You wouldn't wish that on any player, even rivals, even like your rival's captain or something like that. But Craig Gordon, let's be honest, huge hero for any Scottish football fan. Pretty much been in part of the squad for as long as I can remember. For him to be missing this year, hopefully he can come back in 2024 or maybe even the back end of this year. But I think it's going to be a big, big miss for us.
Well, if you've seen any of the content around his injury since he did get injured, like, he's been thriving. Like, it's like it was just almost like it was one of these things that he's only going to be out for a couple of months, but it genuinely looks like he will be back within the end of the season.
I thought his career was done when I saw it, to be honest. But like, his recovery's been ridiculous. It just looks like he's done everything possible to get back. That I think that was what most people assumed early. That was like, well, look at his age. That'll probably be him done. He had really bad previous injuries, but the amount of work he's done, I almost feel sorry for Xander because he's going to lose his spot. He must have thought, right, that's me. I've got my starting spot. I've got my Scotland gig. We'll also chat about that in a bit. But I think Craigie will come back, and I think he'll be back in the international team, to be honest.
So, is there any uncapped player before we talk about the Scotland squad that has been announced? Is there any player that you think maybe should have been in the squad?
Ryan Gold. I think every squad, I should probably just schedule a tweet that says Ryan Gold should be in the squad every single time. The MLS season's just started. This is probably one of the few times where you can actually respect Clark's decision not to cap any players from the MLS because the season's literally just started. But he has been pivotal to Vancouver, who are just over the last 3 years have been, to be honest, not a very good side in the MLS. Each year he has carried them. I would really highly recommend go onto Apple TV if you have it and going to look at the Vancouver Whitecap sort of page on it because it's got so many good goals from last season, and Ryan Gold's really the heart to everything. And in these games, especially against Cyprus, I think he'd be a perfect player to play against Cyprus. I think we're missing him. He gives you something different, something that I don't think any other midfielder in Scotland has. For the cost of bringing him in, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. Just let's see him in a Scotland shirt. He does it. You think he's done enough to get that call up? And Steve Clark, please just give him a cap, please. just please at this point.
Absolutely. On the screen right now is a copy of the Scotland squad. I'll just read through for now. The goalkeepers are Xander Clark, Liam Kelly, and Angus Gunn has joined from the dark side. In the defenders camp, we've got Liam Cooper, Grant Hanley, Jack Henry left the camp to be replaced by Dominic Hyam and Anthony Ralston. Also, there's Aaron Hickey, Nathan Patterson, Ryan Porteous, and Andy Robertson and Kieran Tierney. The midfielders are Stuart Armstrong, Billy Gilmore, Lewis Ferguson, Ryan Jack, John McGinn, Cal McGregor, Kenny McLean, and Scott McTominay, with the forwards being Shea Adams, Jacob Brown, Ryan Christie, and Lyndon Dykes. Alex, you've done your homework, and I know you're buzzing to talk about Cyprus. Tell us about Cyprus.
Oh, I've got lots to tell you about Cyprus. What a team, let me just say that. That's definitely going to come back to bite me. They did not have a good 2022, I'm going to be honest. I watched their games back over the last few days, and yeah, they finished bottom of their Nations League group. They were in the C division, so they're going to have to play a playoff against Gibraltar to avoid relegation to the basement division, which is literally just the really, really small sides. They had one good result in a competitive game, and that was against Greece. They won 1-0 in the Nations League in Cyprus against Greece. I watched that game back, and I wasn't particularly impressed by them. I think it wasn't the strongest Greek side. They'd already qualified for, they'd already won the group effectively, so qualified for the playoffs. And Cyprus were very lucky to win that game. They won that game against a shadow Greek side. They then had to go and play Kosovo away in Kosovo. They needed to at least get a draw to avoid defeat. They lost 5-1. They were atrocious. Every ball went through right between the centre-backs. They were vulnerable from. I would say, Steve Clarke, please watch that. I know he has done, but it was just... I was really surprised at how easy it was for Kosovo to get past them. In terms of manager, do have Timur Ketsibaya, a Georgian, as a manager. Some people may remember him from his time at Dundee, Wolves, Newcastle.
Is he going to be kicking any boards anytime soon?
But yeah, he just took over in September, and they've won. Like I said, they've only beat Cyprus and so they only beat Greece in a competitive game in that time. Most of the players play domestically. They've got one player that plays for Salernitana in Serie A. And they've got one player who plays for Sporting Kansas City, both attacking midfield players. If we're easy, we'll lay off them when we don't close them down. That could be problematic, but I think they will struggle to get points in this group. If we don't take 6 points from them, I think it would be a complete tragedy for Scotland's qualifying hopes from the group anyway. Yeah, I'm not exactly impressed by Cyprus.
The group we've got, we need to get 6 points. Mm-hmm. Simple as that.
100%.
And they used to be decent, Cyprus. Like, I remember Ireland having to go there and really struggling at one point, but they used to be a kind of classic 4-5-1, really tight-knit, solid unit. Mm-hmm. You didn't get many chances off them. They could hit you in the break with a wee bit of pace, but as you've said, they've had a pretty poor time of things recently.
Well,
so.
I remember when we last played them at Hampden, the 2-1 game, we actually had to sweat for that game, because I mean that was one time Eamon Brophy was starting up top and he looked like a deer in headlights.
I mean, that was a very high point of our international history, wasn't it, with Big Eamon up front?
That was Steve Clarke's first game as manager, I think. Or first competitive game. First game at Hampden.
I think it was, yeah.
Robertson,
I should say,
minute.
No disrespect to Eamon, because obviously we don't want to.
we don't want
to tabs off of boys that have managed to get them. But
yeah, absolutely. You've got to give him the credit. You've got to give him the respect that he's actually been called up to the squad. But that 45 minutes that he played is definitely, although it's a high point in his career, it left a lot to be desired. Let's just leave it at that.
A lot has changed since then.
A lot has changed.
I was going to say, I think we've got a bit better since then. I hope we have. And I think they've regressed in this since then. They do play 4-3-3, which hopefully they play at Hampden. I think that'd be good for us if they played 4-3-3 against us. That'd be great. So. Albeit Nations League games compared to Euro qualifiers, you have to take a pinch of salt because you're playing teams of a similar level. Now they're not doing that, so they might be a bit more defensive. I'd be really frustrated if we didn't win 2-3-0. If we were struggling to get a 1-0, if it was like a Liechtenstein game or a Macedonia game from years past, like, we'd be in real trouble in this group. I think what we need is a strong win, at least a 2 or 3 goal win on Saturday.
My main worry is if we go with the 5 at the back against them, because they've got 3 up front, and I think Clark's the kind of boy that would do that and put the 3 centre halves there to try and combat it as such. But I don't think we need to do that, to be honest. I think we need to probably put the extra man in midfield and give it a go and try and get goals. We also have to take into consideration, because this is a UEFA competition that we are partaking in this time, it goes by head to head before goal difference. Whereas in the World Cup qualifying, it would be goal difference. That's right. So in the World Cup, it would be more essential to go and win 5-6-0, but just to make sure that we actually get the win. Although I'm not saying no to a 5-0 win or something like that, but we've got to be realistic here. Scotland aren't a team that goes out and scores a barrel load of goals. No. We have to just rely on our basics and just keep the clean sheet, score a couple goals, and I think it'll be fine. Start really fast and at least get us a goal in the first half hour, and that will get the crowd jumping and we'd see Hampden roaring. But the longer it goes, we all know, like, if it goes on for too long, we'll become anxious and start thinking the worst could possibly happen. And we don't want a repeat of, say, the Belarus game in the
before qualifying. A win here is essential because we've got Spain in the next game, and the chances of us taking anything off Spain is very slim.
No, I totally agree. I think we need a good start, because if we drop points and then we get beat by Spain, we're in a hole that we're not going to get out of, I don't think. So, but we should be able to be confident in ourselves the way things have gone. Like, obviously, we'll get into the squad a wee bit more, and kind of wee concerns we might have. But overall, with the job Clark's done, I don't see why we shouldn't feel confident in what we're able to do.
Absolutely.
I've just got a few kind of slightly nervy thoughts of, because of that head-to-head that you've just detailed there, Stevie Clark's a guy that doesn't mind grinding out a result, and that gives me a bit of fear.
Yeah, and there's not enough gold in the squad.
There's never enough gold. I've been on that train for years now. I think we both have, to be fair. But aye, it's just, I think you're right that we need that early goal in the first half hour.
Yeah.
Because if that settles us down, I know a lot of the boys know each other anyway. It's a similar squad to what Clark likes, but there will be a few new faces in there, and potentially in our first 11 as well. And then we just need to settle and get going for them.
We'll be back in a second. We're just going to hear from our sponsor, and then we will talk about our starting 11 for the Scotland-Cyprus game.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
And we're back with a bang. Today we are talking about Scotland's international head-to-head with Cyprus and Spain. This is the first episode of the INT podcast, brought to you by G4 Claims. We're going to talk about what our preferred starting lineup is going to be against Cyprus on Saturday at the 2 o'clock kickoff. Are we all fond of a 2 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday international break?
It's a bit of a pain for me because I'm working in St Andrews until 11:30.
I feel sorry for having to be in St Andrews.
I'm working and I've got to drive it very quickly. Well, legally, I've got to drive up the speed limit. I just remember. No, I've got to drive at the speed limit to Glasgow and hopefully make it for kick-off. I think 5 o'clock on a Saturday's better. This is something I have in domestic club football. This is a rant I have all the time. I don't like 3 p.m. kickoffs. I think 6 p.m. are far better, and especially if you want to, get a good TV deal.
Is that because Dundee United won their first 6 p.m. kickoff?
So I should say Dundee United have not won the 3 p.m. game in the Premiership this season.
The whole season.
Well, one, but it was a Monday. It was a bank holiday Monday, so I'm not counting that. But a weekend 3 p.m. kickoff was not one. But I'm not a fan of them anyway. I've never really been a fan of 3 p.m. It takes up the whole day. But two, I think this is probably our only 2 o'clock kickoff in the entire group. So get it out early against Cyprus, I suppose. And it's for some people it'll probably be easier. So.
Yeah, it's the first afternoon kickoff that I can remember on a Saturday at Hampden.
Aye, well that's the thing. I don't actually mind it because I prefer this to a really bad time on a Friday night, for example.
Oh, it's awful.
Like, say if it's too close to finishing work and try to get through the supporters' buses and all that. I think 2 o'clock on a Saturday's not too bad. Like, it could have been worse. Could have been like 12:30 for years gone by or that.
The week of football now means that the games are going to be for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
The way the stagger works, I think a Saturday 2 is one of the better ones to be honest.
Yeah, you play Saturday, Tuesday, you get a bit more time. Steve Clark gets a bit more time in the squad, so hopefully you shouldn't need too much of it. But
also
it
it doesn't alienate people travelling from far and wide.
Aye.
For example, Saturday's gone past. It's been a 7:45 kickoff, and you can't get a train back to Dundee or Aberdeen.
11 is the last train back to Dundee. I think the last train back to Aberdeen's like 9:30.
Yeah,
that's just impossible. Now, part of that could be the SFA and ScotRail having a bit of a discussion beforehand. They know these kickoff times quite a long way in advance. But 2 p.m. is probably about as good as you're going to get out of the 9 slots we could have got. I think that's pretty good.
What would you say is a reasonable team to start against Cyprus?
Well, we're going to have to start in the keeping position, aren't we? Because we've got a dilemma there that I think, to be honest, Stevie will go with Angus Gunn in nets. I don't think he'd have gone to persuade him and been able to persuade him by saying you'll be the backup.
No, definitely not. I think if they do international contracts, I think he would be listed as a crucial member of the team. And
The thing is, he's been in really good form for Norwich this season. He dropped out the team, but a lot of folk have kind of jumped in that, not realising it was an injury rather than performance that he dropped out for. But he's been one of the best goalies in the Championship. He was really good at the weekend. I watched the Stoke highlights, Norwich Stoke. Unfortunately, Grant Hanley was awful, as was Jacob Brown, so that was a slight concern, given that Hanley will probably start as well. But Angus was really decent, really solid. I feel a wee bit for the other two, though, because Liam and Xander recent weeks have been good. Well, I know Liam had a bit of a dodgy spell.
Yeah, the wobble on Saturday, but we won't talk about that.
But more kind of recently, he's picked himself up a wee bit for the poor form that Motherwell will in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sidebar, I'm not going to talk too much about Motherwell, but I think Kettlewell's been one of the reasons why Kelly has upped his game. I mean, there's a lot more confidence in that squad now, and confidence breeds results. That's the staple of football, and Kelly's been instrumental in our mini run that we've been on, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have beaten Ross County so comfortably, and the game against Hearts he played all right in, and against St Mirren he made a couple of good saves. It's just against Rangers has put more of a realistic vibe to it, because he was responsible for a couple of the goals. But I mean, that's the thing. If your goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's most likely going to end up in a goal. And we were unfortunate on Saturday, but shit happens.
Yeah, I found this out this season quite a lot. I haven't watched Mark Birighitti every week. I think on the keeper point, for me it's a toss-up between Xander Clark and Angus Gunn. I think for the Cyprus game, hopefully we should get away with any of the three. I think it will probably be Angus Gunn, because there has been the big sort of chat about it, and if he doesn't play particularly well, then you can put Xander in against Spain. I think Steve Clark made a big mistake in the Turkey game pre the World Cup. Craig Gordon did not need to play that game, and let's be honest, it would have been a perfect opportunity to start Xander Clark or Liam Kelly to get them their first international cap.
Play one in the first 45, one in the second 45. I think that would have been the fairest way. Also, I think what we could have done better was actually arrange another friendly at Hampden and get us another match under our belts, and that would have been a perfect opportunity to try even the likes of Dominic Hyam, who's come in for his first squad, and even try out Jacob Brown a bit more, because I mean, we've seen one cameo against Moldova, and that's it.
At the risk of being a wee bit judgmental before he gets a chance, I just don't think he's international quality, to be honest. He was going through a really good spell with Stoke when he got his call up. He was in good form, he deserved a look. But recently he's just not been the same kind of player for them. He's I think Steve's shown at this point that he wants a target man back up to London. I think that's obvious. He always likes a big man to be able to bring off the bench if needed, and that's where Jacob Brown comes in just now, because there's no many target men I can think of that you could pick instead, just depending on form and that. But
Stephen Fletcher come back.
That's the thing, you'd be going back to Fletcher's.
That's literally the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
The worst thing is, Stephen Fletcher's the only player to have ever scored 2 hat-tricks in a qualifying campaign for Scotland.
Gibraltar home and away, was it?
Yeah, Gibraltar home and away. And the fact that he was still getting flack, even though he scored 6 goals over 2 games against Gibraltar, I mean, there's not many players that can actually achieve that.
But I think when you're looking realistically at the striking options, you've got Nisbet and Shankland are the two that would get call-ups just now. Neither of them is going to fill that target man role.
No, definitely.
So I think we'll keep seeing Jacob Brown in the squad going forward.
I should say, I do think, and this is just a thing generally Scotland managers, there is a bit of an a rating of the English Championship as a better league than it actually is.
Yeah.
And I think we've kind of seen in the last couple of years, I think the perception's changed amongst most people, I would say, from what I've seen it anyway, that we're starting to see it isn't that great a league. We're seeing Ryan Porteous go there and be the best defender in the league, for example. And not that Ryan Porteous isn't a good player, but it's not the 5th, 6th best league in the world or whatever that they were trying to make it out 5 years ago. The defending, especially in that league, is not very good.
Defending the English top flight's not very good a lot of the time, let's be honest. But no, as you say, Porteous has gone down there and looked outstanding, which on his day is a great defender, but his distribution obviously still lacking. And
I think that is a good thing though, to make Scottish players look a lot better than they actually are up here. Like, I mean, down in England, you get a lot more time on the ball. It's not as fast a pace as it is up here. I mean, up here it's fast and frantic. Down there it's much more controlled and you get more time and there's more quality just everywhere. And that's where England progresses more than we do, unfortunately. But I do think it was a good move for Pochers to go down there. And, I mean, I'm not just saying that because I hate his guts up here.
I think he had to move from.
No, definitely.
He got to the point where he was stagnating at Hibs, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think he had to move. I don't think England was the best place. I would have loved to have seen him in Serie A, given the James Richardson t-shirt I'm wearing. But, you know, I mean, his style of play and given the extra time on the ball that you get in Italy, even compared to England, I think would have been fantastic. Higher quality league. I think Serie A's arguably getting up to the best league in the world at the minute, given how good
that is.
Okay, Napoli. There you go. They've got more teams in the last 24 in Europe than any other league. They've got 6. England's only got 4. I think Spain's got 4 as well. Napoli look like they're going to win the Champions League. I think that's
Napoli are
fantastic. Unfortunately, they've got Kvaratskhelia, who is going to face us twice. I think we might get to that later, but yeah.
No, you just need to look at Lewis Ferguson, see how good it's been for him. Josh Doig's been outstanding when he's played and not been injured. The fact that now Motherwell's Johnson is getting linked with
I'm scared about
that. Although he's now getting linked with the
Burnley.
Championship. And
as of today, Burnley's the front runners for that. So looks like he's going to get a pre-contract signed with Burnley. And I mean, that's a free pass to the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah. And it sounds like we'll have a chance of getting games as well.
I mean, that is a youngster's dream. So, I mean, I'm all for it. The fact that he can actually get a move and he may actually not rot in the reserves like previous youth products we've had, such as Jake Hasty. But that's enough about him.
The only issue I've got with that is you look at Ramsey at Liverpool, and obviously he's had his injury issues, but he's not getting a lot of game time at all.
No.
Maybe going to Italy might be a better move for a lot of
these even players. A loan move. A loan move for Ramsey maybe to Italy or doing the Championship for 6 months to toughen him up, I think. Because, I mean, he looks like a superstar in Scotland, but you've got to look like a superstar everywhere else if you want to make it.
Well, even Patterson struggled to get game time at Everton initially. He's now got to that point. But it's not necessarily the best move just to go down south.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the club. Like, for example, this is why I think Watford's not particularly good move for Porteous, was because Watford seems to change the manager every 3 months. So you can't get a consistency. And it's even you've seen Billy Gilmore when he's moved to Brighton. I think most people think that was probably a mistake. Yeah. And the fact that he then Potter leaves to go to Chelsea, would have been better staying where he was. To go to Serie A, you need to learn a new language. Some players don't want to do that and aren't able to do that, and that's absolutely fine. It's not easy. You're going to be away from family. If you're at Burnley, if you're Max Johnson, you're going to Burnley. That's 2 to 3 hours down the road. Much easier to get home rather than being in Naples or Verona, where you're 2 hour drive to the airport, flight back. Especially after what's happened with COVID as well, you're a wee bit more worried about that. So I can understand why a player is going to go to pick England over Italy. Money's probably going to be similar.
Absolutely. So defence for the Scotland-Cyprus game, back onto topic?
I think because we're assuming Angus is starting, I think Steve will go for kind of tried and tested. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I'm not sure. But I could see Tierney being left centre-back, Hanley being the main kind of anchor centre-back. And then I think he probably would have played Jack Henry, even though he's not had any game time of late. I have a funny feeling that he might throw in Hyam, because I know Cooper's there, but Cooper's left-footed as well. He seems to like a left foot and a right footer to have that balance either side. Yeah. So I don't see Tierney playing left wing back and Robbo not playing, given that Robbo's captain. So I think the two are basically definites on the team sheet. I could see Hyam stepping into right centre, or I don't think he'll start Porteous, but you never know.
I think he might start Porteous is the only thing. I think just for some reason because he was so good away in the away game against Ukraine, neutral game against Ukraine, in the Nations League. I wouldn't be surprised if he started Porteous. But I mean, I think the quality of those centre backs in the squad are quite decent. I think it's not, 5-6 years ago when we're like, oh no, who's going to play centre back? We're absolutely screwed. We're now in this sort of situation where I think all these players with the omission obviously of Hayam are tried and tested.
Yeah,
I think you're right. He might play Hayam purely just because it is Cyprus we're playing. It isn't Spain. He wouldn't want to chuck him into a game against Spain.
I mean, the other option he's got is he could put Cooper as a middle centre instead of Hanley, but he always picks Hanley when Hanley's there.
Hanley's good for us. Hanley is a very, very good player. The amount of people who have a go at let me take that. A lot of people that have a go at Hanley for being not good enough or he's limited or whatever. I think it's a bit harsh. And every time on Twitter you see his name in the squad, people go, "Oh no, not Hanley!" Oh, all the still game memes are like, "Oh no, I did not hear that. You know that one, the one from Shooting of Hat. He's been really good for us. I think he was excellent in the 2 games against Austria in the last campaign. He was absolutely excellent. I think we're sort of. I hope we're past the whole Hanley's not a very good player. I think as well having Hanley, having Gunn, having that connection through Norwich, also having Hayam, who is the connection of the Championship with Blackburn, they will kind of know how to play together. So I think he's got to go with Hanley centre back.
Yeah, Hanley gets exposed when it's a back 2 rather than a back 3 at the centres. I think if you're playing him as a no nonsense, you're the anchor middle centre back. Go and win the ball, clear it, give the ball to those guys to distribute. I think that's his role, and that's why he's been good for Scotland in these games. I mean, the only other possibility I could see would be if he puts Tierney at right wing back, which he has done before.
Yeah, he has.
And then you put Liam Cooper at left centre, but I wouldn't be a fan of that.
Nah, I wouldn't. I'd rather have Tierney's pace at the back.
Aye, and bringing the ball through and being the underlap for Robbo.
Absolutely, and that brings us on to further up the park in midfield. I mean, I want to say Patterson and Robertson as our wing backs. I think we can both, or all 3 of us, move on from that point.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
I agree with Robertson. Patterson, I'm probably for this game. I'd actually like to see something different. Could you play Hickey there? Would that work? Yeah.
You could, but you're not getting the best version of Hickey right back.
No.
Yeah, I think it's one of these games where, like, against Spain, I'd play Patterson every day of the week. Against Cyprus, I would maybe play Hickey. I definitely wouldn't play Tierney though. That's something I think Tierney's best as left centre back. I think you'd be mad not to have Tierney and Robertson playing in their best positions. They're our 2 best players. Or them again are our 3 best players. But yeah, I'd agree to Patterson purely just because I don't want my Twitter mentions to be
full of Rangers fans.
See, just before we move on to the kind of full on midfield, I've just thought of something else. Is there a danger he puts McTominay at right centre back?
Not anymore, I don't think.
Do you not think?
The fact Hayam's been brought in is a big plus, and I think McTominay is safe in midfield.
Right.
Yeah, we've moved past that era of McTominay at right centre back. He did a job. He did a job there, to be fair, but let's be honest, it's not his best position. Let's not rely on it. Yeah, it's not his best position. Would be better having an actual defender playing in defence.
Yeah. Completely agree. So our midfield, what do you think?
McTominay's the anchor? Are we thinking McTominay? I think especially like Cyprus's danger men are their attacking midfielders. I think having McTominay to just kind of body him out the game is probably a sensible option. It's probably not going to look very nice, and it's probably not going to be, a great style of play. And he does have his limitations. McTominay, although he is a very good player. I think I'd play McTominay.
I think I'd prefer Jack, but I think we'll go with McTominay. I think Jack's been really good since he's come back for his latest injury. I think him and McGregor give you a nice balance as well when they play together in that midfield, which is ironic. But,
the old firm harmony.
But no, I think he will probably go McTominay because that seems to be his favoured option in there. And then Jack kind of coming in, and he has actually played Jack with McTominay. I've noticed in centre mid in the past as well. So we'll see.
I would actually play Jack against Spain. I'll come to that later, but I would play Jack instead against Spain, and I'd play McTominay on Saturday against Cyprus. I think there's good reasons for why that's the case, but I think McTominay's just going to be a bully.
I would say for that reason being because I think McTominay is more of an on the ball player, whereas Jack does off the ball running. He's a sort of dogfighter in there, whereas I think we'll have a lot more of the ball on Saturday. against Cyprus, and if there's a game you're controlling, I think McTominay's the player you play against Cyprus, and then Jack is the runner for the game against Spain.
Aye, McTominay gives you more of the physical presence, but Jack gives you more of the winning the ball back and interceptions and reading the game. And McTominay gives away a lot of stupid fouls at points when he's under pressure as well. Jack's less liable to do that. But no, I probably agree with that, to be honest. Keep Jack for the Spanish game for that kind of destroyer role. Going forward, I would love to see Ferguson get a chance, but I don't think he'll get a chance.
He'll come on with 25 minutes.
Aye.
I think that's, no matter what the score is going to be, like if we're 1-0 up or 1-0 down, hope to Christ not. I think he'll come on because I think Clark does see the potential that, well, not even potential, it's been realised now, does see the quality that he has, but I think it'll be McGinn and McGregor.
I think McGinn's first name in the team sheet for the midfield, isn't he? He's definitely been playing. He's been great with Villa recently as well. Been really good, and they're playing more advanced.
Yeah.
So that kind of fits into what he does with us, which is great. So yeah, I think McGinn, McGregor, McTominay's probably the three he'll go with.
And then up top, double up top.
I think so. Well, you'd like to think he'll go to up top for. No disrespect to Cyprus, but it's a game we need to win.
So Adams and Dykes up top?
Yeah.
One thing I will say about Dykes, he is obviously recovering from his most recent, well, I was going to say injury, it was illness, wasn't it?
It was illness.
So I don't know if he could see through 90 minutes, and I don't know if he could see through 180 minutes in 3 days. So maybe we might see Jacob Brown start instead, with Adams playing off him. I think that would probably be better. Could even see Christie start. I think Christie's a player that I think, despite the fact he takes 40 million shots a game,
well, he's going to have the time and the opportunities to do that against Cyprus, and he did score in Nicosia the last time we played away at Cyprus, 2-1 win.
I think Christie is there to play the Spanish game with one up front with Christie in mind. I think that's what Christie's been at his best for us, when he's kind of got off the striker and he's picking the ball up, he's drifting about.
Sort of in the free roll.
Aye, so he's not necessarily always looking for the pot shots, he's looking for the overlaps, he's looking for the midfielders and the kind of the spaces at the side. He's got a target man to bounce off or whatever. So I've got a funny feeling he'll probably start against Spain just with that role. I agree, I don't see Linden playing 180 minutes. Quick question for you, so do you think, I'm assuming we're playing one up front against Spain. Do you think he'd play Che up front on his own?
I don't know, because the last few times I've seen Che up top on his own, he's looked a bit lost.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how we would play, but that brings us up to the next break.
There's your link.
There's your
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
You're listening to the INT podcast with myself, Goggsy89, and joined today by Mozza and Alex. We are going to be talking about what our free coupon would be for the weekend, or the week of football as international football has become. So there are 6 days in which there are football matches going to be taking place. I've picked a game from each day. I don't know about yourselves, but
I've just picked one game. Wasn't sure I'm doing.
I've done a couple of different things looked out.
Well, as I go along, in fact, I'll just get up the fixtures here, and you can we'll just take 6 games each, and we'll just talk about it. There you go. There's the fixtures.
There's a week of football.
Yeah, and just scroll down as it goes. So I'll kick things off, right?
Right, fire away.
With the first game I am taking is Slovenia to win in Kazakhstan. That's the first game that's happening this week. My reason being the visitors are unbeaten in 6 games. The hosts have lost 3 in the spin. They've never played each other, but I do believe that Slovenia have what it takes to avoid the Borat defeat that we got on the start of our qualifying campaign a couple of years ago.
That's 4 years ago now.
4
and
years.
actually, I've got the starting lineup for that game. Here. Just if you can imagine that all the stars are here. The Norm McDonald one, Scott Bain, Liam Palmer, Graham Shinney.
Oh, stop!
John McGinn, David Bates.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Cercle Bruges legend David Bates.
Scott McKenna. James Forrest, who actually was excellent in the Nations League just before that. I think he scored 5 goals in 4 games or something.
He did have a good time.
Scored a hat-trick against Israel at home, I think it was. Cal McGregor was captain that night. And then this is where it gets fun. Ollie McBurney, Oliver Burke, and then Stuart Armstrong as well. And then the bench is brilliant though. The bench is something else. John McLaughlin, who
he was at Hearts at the time.
Was it ours? What was he?
I
think he was at Hearts before he got the Rangers at that point.
Yeah. Liam Kelly was still third choice goalkeeper, so he's no progression. No progression.
Poor Liam.
Stephen O'Donnell, who I would defend to the hilt playing for Scotland, and I have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
John Suter, Stuart Finlay. Is he back in Scotland now?
I think he's over in America again.
He went. Did he? He's gone back to America
and he went to Oxford.
I think he's still at Oxford.
Is he still at Oxford?
I think he is.
Because I never worked from going to. It was
Philadelphia Union. Yeah. John Fleck, Kenny McLean, Johnny Russell, who I wouldn't say no to being back in the Scotland squad. Mark McNulty, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Oh God, let me tell you about Mark McNulty. Lewis Morgan, who I think a lot of people would like to see back in squad. I think he's
been doing all right.
He's been really good in MLS.
Yeah. He's been like a lot like Gold. I think the difference between him and Gold is the fact he's got the old. In fact, he's played one of the old firm. Does help in Scottish media for him getting shouted out for. And he's playing for New York, who are in the Eastern Conference, so more of their games are sort of at a reasonable time.
Because he was in Miami, wasn't he?
Who were, let's be honest, shit.
Yeah,
they were
terrible.
Absolutely. That is. It's. I find
Didn't Brooklyn Beckham play for them?
For a little while, basically they had Lewis Morgan and Gonzalo Higuain up front.
And just
the odd couple.
The odd couple.
The absolute odd couple, and Higuain was rotten for them because he was 40 and the size that he should have been after retirement.
He was on something like $250,000 a week.
Aye.
Which let's be honest, he would never say no to. But I find it incredibly, incredibly funny that they spent the most money of any MLS team ever to be
finished terribly bottom.
I think they were like out of the 28 or 29 teams in MLS, I think they were like 27th or something. You know, it was horrendously bad.
They threw money at Blaise Matuidi and all these kind of guys, and it was
just throwing money, make it happen. Oh, we'll do this, we'll spend money. That means it's like that's not how a football club works.
It was the old MLS style. I get the old has-beens that might still have something, and they didn't have it.
No, they had absolute hee-haw.
Whereas now, if you are going to get an old has-been, it's someone who's just came from Real Madrid, or just came from Barcelona, or just came from.
Just to bring some up, because I know some people kind of dismiss what we were saying about Gold, about Morgan, that MLS as a league. Mm-hmm. It's a different league now than it has been a few years back. You look at like Atlanta. Is a kind of good indication of it. Well, Giacomakis has scored there, he scored early, but Thiago Almada's the guy I was going to bring up, because no longer are they just bringing in the old has-beens for big money. They're going to South America and picking out really good players as a stepping stone before they come to Europe, and Thiago Almada's a great example of it. Atlanta had Martinez up front, who's
Joseph Martinez,
who was really good. So it's a different style of league, and it's good football they play as well. It's good passing, attraction football.
It's quite interesting because you only have, I think it's 3 or 4 designated players, they call them, which are basically the only players that are allowed to pay above the price, the salary cap, the wage cap, which is not the wage cap. Beneath that is about Hearts level.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge level. So the quality of the players, it's really how you recruit. Recruitment is everything in the MLS, even more so than it is in, say, a European league, because you can have such a, like, Stephen Fletcher would be a designated player in the MLS.
Yeah.
Even though he's still United.
Chris Boyd was a designated player in the MLS.
Barry Robson. Aye. Barry Robson was designated player.
Tom McManus from way downtown.
Jesus Christ. But like, I remember watching the MLS 5 years ago. I think I started watching it, And I was like, this is rubbish. Like, Scottish Championship teams could beat them.
Yeah.
Genuinely thinking that. And now, I still think Celtic and Rangers would go and win that league. And I actually still think, like, even a mid-table Scottish Premiership side would be fine in the MLS. They wouldn't look out of place. The one other thing I should say in MLS, and this is me going full SPFL watch here, I absolutely love the MLS's TV deal with Apple. I've been going on about it like anything, but it's literally the content you get is amazing. It's fantastic. The MLS 360 show, they're still getting to grips with it, but you know, it's an excellent deal. They're getting somewhere between $250 and $350 million per season. Compared to that, we're getting to about a tenth of that. You know.
So here's a question for TikTok. If Scotland were to have an MLS style brand or TV deal like they have with Apple TV, how much money do you think that would generate for the Scottish game?
If it was done right, I think the issue is because they don't have the concept of a 3 p.m. blackout, so we have to get rid of that concept, and we'd have to. And that's not going to. We can't shift that by ourselves because we are selling to a UK and Ireland market. So we'd have to probably move our 3 p.m. games to 5:30, which I wouldn't be against. As I kind of mentioned before, I quite like 5:30 p.m. kickoffs. We could probably get somewhere in the region of 60 to 80 million pounds a season. I think that would be realistic, and that's, I think, if at the minute we're getting probably 30. It's 37's the max the new deal can be. It can be anywhere from 28 to 37. Plus the pay-per-view, which is obviously a bonus to that, and I think that should be centralised, and we could get actually towards that. That's a different rant for a different time. But you know, I think 60 to 80 million wouldn't be an unachievable goal. If you look at what other leagues in Europe, like the Eredivisie, I think their next TV deal is going to be every game live, and that's going to be north of €100 million.
I will leave the figures to you because you know your stuff more than me on that front. What I do know about is blackouts, though. The SFA could opt out if they wanted to. Of the blackout side things.
They did that last season.
Yeah, they did it during COVID, which is how I know, because I used to have to fight trying to get them to realise that we were allowed to broadcast live on Twitch and all that side of things. Anyway, the BSC then Broomhill. But even if it was the same money, the fact that we'd get more content out there would be good for the league compared to what we've got now with Sky, who we're a B brand for them. We're a
D brand.
We're not even like
we're not on their top 10 priority list.
No, the difference with BT...
No, we are. We're about 8th on that list. The issue is with Sky, and first of all, I'll say this, and I know a lot of people at Sky, I've had discussions with people at Sky before, and they've always debated me, and the people who work for Sky in Scotland are really talented people. And that's the first thing I should say, right? So when you give people like, you know, Mark Benstead and Ian Crocker hate, that's not really fair. It's not them. They're not making that decision. The decision is being made, and all the people who work at Sky Scotland are really talented people. The issue is made at the London office. They are not committing resources to it. I think if you compare our situation to, say, Austria, Germany, it's very similar. Sky in Austria to Sky in Germany. Sky have their own Austria channels.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, so if like Sky Sports main event in Austria would be Sky Sports Österreich. And then they would have the rest of the channels. That's what I hope eventually Sky would do here. And I think they could do that here and it'd be a relatively easy thing. But even with that, I mean, yesterday, they had Ref Watch. And I was actually quite looking forward to it because there was a lot of decisions in the SPFL that you can get into. They spent half an hour programme. They spent 10 minutes on a game they had no rights to, FA Cup matches. Specifically the Fulham Man United game. They spent 2 minutes on the Scottish games, and it was a half-arsed attempt by Dermot Gallagher. He got all the names. He got like 4 names wrong as a player. Yeah. He didn't even... The clips weren't linking up with what he was saying. No discussion of Curtis May and Dundee United St Mirren. No discussion of Libby game. No discussion of the Kelly St Johnstone game.
That was a massive handball shoot in that.
Yeah. Exactly. No, and I compare that to, say, what BBC Scotland put out, the verdict. I'm not a big fan of Richard Foster, and I'm not a big fan of his, but... The content was there, and they've made it, and it's like that, and it's out there, and you can view it. And my biggest issue with Sky is they're just not producing enough. Because when they do match day on a match day, I think their coverage is top notch. They're the best in the business when it comes to doing a game live. Beyond that, they do absolutely nothing. A 15-minute highlight show a week, and a couple of interviews outside Celtic Park or Ibrox.
This is where we're generally in agreement. I think that as much as I preferred the BT contract when that was in place, because it felt like it was a bit more raw, I guess, in terms of, and it felt they had a bit more leeway to kind of say and do what they wanted and have a bit of fun with it. The main thing for Scottish football right now is the rights are with someone who have other focuses, and we need our football to be the focus. Whatever route we take with that, that is where the Apple TV thing, I think for the MLS has been outstanding for them. If we can
it's
even have
international as well. That's the thing is you get the same in the UK, you get the same coverage in the UK as you're getting in America. Whereas if you're watching the SPFL in America on Paramount Plus, you are getting the same games that are on Sky, but you're getting a 15-minute token highlights programme. You're also getting the BBC Scotland games as well, but you're not getting any actual proper content. There's no build-up to those games as well.
Yeah.
It's often just like, right, the first, you won't see Ailey Barber or Chris Boyd, you won't even see anyone. All you'll hear is Ian Crocker. That'll be the first voice you'll hear is Ian Crocker.
it just goes right in.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, people constantly talk about talking down our game and so on, and it's not that we talk it down, we don't talk it up.
That's perfect, and I think Neil hits the nail bang on the head and get words out. Sky as well. I think my biggest frustration with them is they never run an advert on Sky Sports for a Scottish match. Never, unless it's an Old Firm, unless it's a big Old Firm like a New Year's Old Firm or a start of season or end of season Old Firm. They will never run a Scottish match. They do it for English Championship. They do it for WSL. Do it for Netball Super League. They do it for all these other things that they pay far less for, I might add, and that produce far fewer viewers.
Yeah.
But for Scotland, they don't produce any ads at all. And what's even worse for that is it's not like the ads are played out on a UK wide basis. They could make ads specifically for Scotland, and they have the ability to do that. That's what's really frustrating. Mm-hmm. Funnily enough, Scotland matches are no longer on Sky for until 2028 at least. So Viaplay are our new Danish overlords, Swedish overlords.
I won't have to worry about that because I'll be at every game. So that's all I care about.
Should say as well, this Viaplay deal, a lot of people say, the SFA have done that. The rights are sold by UEFA, not the SFA for Scotland games. People need to know that. One other thing as well, the SFA did actually insist to Viaplay that 3 games every 2 years must be broadcast free to air. We've already had one, which was the home game against Ukraine. 2 games this year, or maybe one if there's a playoff in 2024. 2 of the next 10 games we have will be free to air.
So, how about a pivot back? Talking now the English.
Yeah.
Italy face England, which is one of the games I picked out for a potential coupon. I think there are going to be very few goals, if any, in that game.
Ooh.
Because I just see them being a bit of a stalemate. The managers are talking their own situations down on both sides. You've got Southgate moaning about not enough English players are playing in top flight England. Mancini going, we've got it worse than you. It's a really negative atmosphere around both camps. It's bizarre. I have a funny feeling that it'll be 1-0 or 0-0.
Fair enough.
I think it will be low scoring, and the fact it's on Channel 4 and free to air means it'll be a terrible game of football, which always seems to be the case.
So give me an under 1.5 on that.
I think you'll get a penalty, probably a red card as well of some type. I think we'll have a.
Well, they've got a bit of needle anyway.
I think there's enough revenge. They'll build up the revenge throughout the week, and I think we'll probably see. It'll be an Italian. Naples though. You got to remember, it is Naples. This is the city where Maradona, the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona. So this is a.
Is there going to be a hand of God moment?
I don't know. There can't be. There's VAR. Look, somebody unplugs the VAR. I think. I agree. I think it'll probably be low scoring. I think England will win actually. Surprisingly, purely just because they'll claim it as their tokenistic revenge. And England are amazing at qualifying. If there was a tournament for qualifying, they'd win it. But fortunately, there's not, and it's brilliant that there isn't.
It is a kind of game that screams out 1-0 Rashford.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest.
Penalty.
Possibly.
Penalty, yeah.
But the only other ones I picked out were a couple of bankers, well, possible bankers, I don't want to jinx it. I think Faroe Islands and Moldova, people just dismiss the Faroes as what they used to be, which was a pub team. They ain't that anymore.
Oh, they're definitely not.
Moldova are the pub team.
Moldova are the pub team these days.
Moldova are, and I think they're probably the biggest underperformers of any country in Europe.
I agree.
I mean, because if you think Moldova's not a small country, it's 2 million. Well, it is relatively small, but it's 2 million people, so it's like the size of Northern
It's
Ireland.
almost half ours.
Almost half of us,
Yeah.
right? They have never, ever, ever been good. They have always been rubbish, and the only time, like, their biggest result was beating us. Which, you know,
Which is a nice little point to finish.
yeah. Bertie McVotes, we salute you. Thanks, Tomo, Stephen Thompson, for that one.
Yeah.
But no, let's be honest. I think Faroe Islands are actually probably a safe bet there.
And the other one I've got is Serbia at home to Lithuania, which potentially you might want to bet on Mitrovic to score to take some frustration out,
Or
Yeah.
red card.
or potentially another red card. But given that he might well be banned for at least the rest of the season at the club level, he's probably going to want to let out some steam.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
either a booking, a red card, or a goal. He is their penalty man as well, isn't he, Mitrovic?
Yeah.
He was top scorer in in the Nations League. Him and Haaland were the two top scorers in the Nations League.
So
Yeah.
there's a few bets you could have a wee look at there, but I think Serbia beat Lithuania.
Yeah, it's quite a safe bet. They were at 1-16 last I checked.
Well, there you go. That's
So,
how safe it is.
yeah,
So,
that's just-
again, Lithuania, another team that I used to be.
I know they actually used to be a decent side, but now they're I think they finished below Luxembourg in their previous
Yeah.
group, so they are definitely a shadow of what they used to be. Their only good player is Černič,
Yeah.
who plays in the Polish league, I think. But
Football is very much, I was in Latvia recently, it is very much at the bottom of the list. Basketball and ice hockey are the top two sports by a mile. And football is like, not even secondary, tertiary sport. I think Latvia are probably the strongest of the three of those nations, and they are not very good.
Aye, they had a good spell not too long ago, but
Yeah, Euro 2004, famously
Yeah.
qualified
Yeah.
for. I think did they beat Russia in the playoff or someone, Turkey or someone in the
I
playoff?
think they beat Turkey.
Turkey, yeah, which was obviously a massive shock. But yeah, the Balkans are in the Baltics are they are now becoming hot six nations. Same with Moldova.
anyway, we'll move on to my Friday pick, which is Austria to beat Azerbaijan. Ralf Rangnick got off to a perfect start in Austria with a 3-0 win over Croatia in the Nations League before going on a run of 5 games without a win. But since they have beaten the Euro holders Italy 2-0 in a friendly, they last kept a home competitive clean sheet in September 2019 in a 6-0 rout over Latvia. Meanwhile, Azerbaijan have won their last 5 matches. It could be a bit closer than billed. I'd say maybe Austria to win with both teams to score.
I would probably agree with that. Azerbaijan are probably our team on the up because they've just spent, as a country, they've spent loads of money on football. They held the Europa League final or Champions League final.
Yeah, the stadium they have in Baku is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was in the Euros as well.
Yeah.
So
Perfect for Turkey. It was a whole game for them. For Friday, Portugal, Liechtenstein. Well, Liechtenstein to win. No. To be honest, I
they
think
don't have Mario Frique anymore, so I don't think it's worth it.
I'll go for it. I don't know if you'll probably get a bet on this or not, but if he plays, I'll put Ronaldo not to score against Liechtenstein.
Oh,
I think this is going to come. He's going to score like 4 goals now. I've said this, but I think he is having some sort of like midlife crisis at the minute.
Yeah.
I think that's clear. No one of their right mind goes to play in Saudi Arabia, even being paid that amount of money. I mean, he's not entirely poor. I don't think I've seen a player drop off as quickly in terms of like unless they've had an
because he
injury or
was at
something.
such a high level to then
Just drop, and even he's struggling in that. He's not scoring. He's scoring goals from time to time, but he's not setting Heather on fire in a league that, let's be honest, is absolutely terrible. The SPL is absolutely terrible. Because that's the Saudi Premier League, yeah, or Saudi Pro League or whatever it's called. I just get Portugal win, but I would say Ronaldo not to score. That's my.
interesting.
I'm just really sorry. Portugal game's a Thursday, not a Friday.
That's
Close enough.
We're kind of at the point where we're just picking a couple of games
Yeah.
anyway, so
I mean, I'll just go through my 4 picks, and then you can bring up a couple more,
Aye,
and,
go
then,
for it.
and then we'll end there. So on Saturday, I've got Israel against Kosovo. The hosts have only lost 1 game at home in the last 8, being against Cyprus in a shock 3-2 defeat in the last home game. Kosovo's away form is patchy. They picked up a draw last last year against Switzerland away from home, and both teams have scored in 5 of their last 6 games. So I'm going to pick over 2.5 goals in both teams to score in that game. Sunday,
I'd go bolder than that. I'd go bolder.
Oh,
I'd
really?
go over 4.5 goals.
Over 4.5. Oh, he's
Game,
feeling fruity.
that game screams goals to me. Well, we know Israel, like back for hand. We know how good they are going forward. We know how terrible they are at the back.
Yeah,
I mean, they conceded 3 to pretty poor Scotland performance and the penalty as well on top of that. And McGinn missed, I think, 2 sitters. Yeah, the XG in that game must have been like 6 or something for Scotland. And Kosovo are just all attack. I mean, I actually love watching Kosovo play.
Yeah. Milo Rashica is absolutely superb. I loved him at Werder Bremen. He was top notch.
We've spoken about Werder Bremen today. We've said mentioned him 4 or 5 times.
Goggsy's influence on it.
Yeah, absolutely. My Sunday pick is the Italians who went to Malta. If you've heard that joke, have you ever heard the Italian that went to Malta?
I've heard the setup before, but I can't remember what the punchline is.
I'm not going to waste your time.
Right, okay.
Sorry, I've lost my momentum. On Monday, I've got the political battle of Montenegro against Serbia. I think that's an interesting one. I think there'll be 47 red cards.
I was going to say that as a walking red card or something.
Yes, isn't it?
Can I say I'm amazed UEFA have allowed that as a game.
So am I.
I'm
It
absolutely.
should not be a game.
So the issue is Serbia are banned from playing Kosovo because Kosovo is
not recognised as a nation.
it's not even recognised as a nation by Spain of all countries as well. So when they played, it was actually the region of Kosovo instead of the flag. Put up, funnily enough. Anyway, so they can't. I don't think they can play Bosnia either because of the obvious reasons. They can't play Ukraine because Serbia love Russia. They absolutely love Russia. It's very. I can go very geopolitical on this, but I'll keep it brief. And I don't think they can play Albania, and I don't think they can play Croatia as well.
The last thing they played Albania was utter chaos.
Someone flew a drone with the Kosovo as Albanian over the stadium, and it caused complete riot. People throwing stuff. Is
that not the same game that you had kind of Shaqiri doing the symbols? I won't do it obviously.
He did the double eagle.
Yeah, that was a double eagle.
Which is obviously the flag of Albania, and Kosovo is full of ethnic Albanians.
Just like even touch paper, basically. Yeah,
it's like playing the flute in Northern Ireland, sort of thing. That's the level. That's probably like the
Gascoigne playing the flute sort of thing.
Yeah, that's probably the closest I could think to it for a sort of Scottish British audience. But yeah, it's not. That definitely 4 red cards. Or
Lee Griffiths tying the Celtic scarf to the Linfield goalpost.
to be fair, right, that was good, Pat. That was quite funny. And that was after he got a bottle of Bucky thrown at him when he took a corner. He took a corner and then he hands it to the referee and he gets a yellow card. It's one of the most. That game was meant to be played on the 12th of July. As well.
Yeah, it was. It moved to the 11th.
Yeah. Which would have been like. Jesus Christ. Someone at UEFA had a sense of humour, I tell you that much.
Anyway, my other pick on Tuesday is Wales to beat Latvia. The hosts are without a win since beating Ukraine in the World Cup playoff. So since then it's 2 draws and 6 losses. And they don't actually score too many goals when you think of it. The only time in my recent memory that they have scored or they have won by more than 1 goal was a 5-1 victory over Belarus in 2021. Since then, every game they've won has been by 1 goal. The visitors had a successful 2022, getting promotion in the Nations League Group D with 5 wins out of 6, but lost on penalties in the final of the Baltic Cup to Iceland, who geographically aren't in the Baltic region. There you go. This what stats done.
I think they were invited. I think it was one of those, because obviously Baltic's only 3 countries, so they tend to invite the other one of the Nordic countries to just make it like, yeah, you can come. Iceland, you're crap enough to be with us.
That's basically jump in.
Jump in.
It's like 3 siblings in a bath together.
The only worry I've got with that pick that you've made there, I'm just going to gloss over that is Wales almost called up Paul Mullen.
Jeez.
What?
Who is in the National League for Wrexham just now, because that's how sparse their striking situation is at the current moment in time. I have a a wee worry if you put too much on Wales. That could be a wee draw. Kind of.
They should have they should have the quality to win.
They should win, but it is the kind of game that they might go to.
And obviously the best player, Dylan Levitt's missing the injury. I've got to get that in. Got to get that in.
They're in this transition point where obviously
Bale's out.
Ramsey, these kind of guys aren't the players they would have been at the peak of their powers.
Kiefer Moore injured as well.
Kiefer Moore, I believe, is injured as well.
Yeah.
Is a really good target man. We're talking about good target man. They're just not the best team right now.
So I'd say a Wales and under 2.5 goals, maybe a selection.
Maybe even a 1-0.
If we're going for sort of ones that are out there, I'd actually go with a draw there because they are, like, we talk about, they said the last win at home was against Ukraine. They were awful. They were absolutely awful. It was a deflected goal. Ukraine deserved to win that game. Ukraine were robbed of winning that game. I would, every day of the week, be putting money on, would not be putting money on that game. I would not be putting money on Wales. I'd probably put under 2.5 goals and just leave it.
Well, there's your nice little finisher because you've gone all neck on the line on that and we've gone against it.
Oh, it is indeed.
He's going to send us a message when they're 4-0 up.
What did I say, boys?
Get it right up there.
It's like, where's your Paul Mullen now?
But does that come to a climax?
Well, I was going to say I've had Netherlands, France as well.
Yeah.
I've had Netherlands to beat France. And
what's your reasons behind that?
France always take a while to get sort of up and running qualifying. Netherlands have been, in the last couple of tournaments, they've been very good.
To be fair, they did draw a few times in the World Cup qualifying. They were held by Ukraine twice.
Ukraine drew 6 games in that qualifying campaign and finished second. They won 2 and drew 6, which is probably the most. That's what I was looking for, teams with 5, groups of 5, and how many points you realistically need. And I think they qualified with, whatever that would have been, 11 points?
Right.
Or something, no, 12.
12
points. Yeah. And it was just because of all draws, unbeaten.
Yeah. But the group was full of draws as well. That's how
it was just the one of the most bizarre. And they were like 3 points clear of everyone else. It was a completely bizarre group. But, I think someone like, they might rest the likes of Mbappe, he's played a lot. They might, Benzema's not going to play, is he, realistically? They'll probably rotate the squad. They only need to finish on top of the group, and they've got to play Ireland in that group. And let's be honest, Ireland they're not in a good place. The
thing with France is when they're on song, they are very, very good going forward. And the Dutch, I know this is a stereotype from previous squads, but they do have a tendency to not turn up in certain games.
But I think they'll raise their game for this. I think this isn't the game. I think the sort of game they wouldn't turn up is away to Ireland. That's the sort of game. Home to France, they're going to turn up.
Turkey smashed them in the last qualifiers. The Dutch did take a while to get actually the motor running, so it will be interesting to see her. I'm actually looking forward to seeing that.
Captain Mbappe for the first time as well.
I know that's a bizarre thing.
Mbappe is captain. I forgot about that. Yeah, sorry.
Mbappe's like the same age as I am, and look at what I'm doing. I'm sitting in a studio talking about football.
Living the dream the same way, obviously.
yeah, absolutely. But I think that comes to a good point in where we can finish things, because we've been sitting here for 3 hours just waxing lyrical with international football. So thank you very much everyone for watching or listening, depending on what platform you're using, to the INT podcast with myself, Goggsy89, Mozza and Alex Marr. Where can I find you guys on social media?
Where you go first, Alex?
So you can find me at AlexMar98 on Twitter, from my personal Twitter, which I just tweet mostly about Dundee United, so it's just a very depressing read, to be honest. And at SPFL Watch, where I talk about broadcasting football, commercial football, and just Scottish football in general, really.
And getting the SFA's bad books by leaking the National League that was proposed.
I did not leak that. Someone leaked that.
It was already out.
Someone had already. Can I say somebody sent that to me? I did not.
I had already done a bait tweet knowing it as well, and then you put it out. I was like, thank God I can talk about it now.
I was going to say, well, I think we probably found it from the same person.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards. But it's I should say people who do work for the SFA are actually very good at what they do.
It's come back and forth the whole pod, hasn't it? No, absolutely. So you can find me at Mozza Plays on Twitter and kind of Twitch and so on. You'll find me through the Twitter. Not streaming as much now because I am running and coaching my own football club, which you'll find on Twitter again, Tullibuddy STSFE. SFC, I should say. So Tullibuddy St Serfs. And it's at that handle basically everywhere. So come and find us and support us.
Surfs up.
Surfs up.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you later.
Cheers.
Take care.